Welcome to Sightseeing Japan, the podcast where we explore the land of the rising sun. I'm Paul Bresson.
And I'm Jason Nealing, and this is episode 0, Introductions. This is not the very first episode, this is pre-first episode, right? So we just wanted to introduce ourselves and introduce the podcast and what it's about and why you should listen, what you might get out of it. So this podcast is called Sightseeing Japan. I think Paul mentioned that. And basically, it's about sightseeing in Japan. So if you've heard Stuff You Should Know with Josh and Chuck, one of the biggest podcasts ever, you could think of this podcast as a stuff you should know about Japanese stuff. Because basically, we do the same thing that they do. Each week, we choose a topic about Japan, some aspect of Japanese culture, and we dig in and research that, find all those delicious, fascinating facts, and then we talk about them into microphones for you to listen to.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about different regions in Japan, different cities. We're going to talk about attractions, events, anything to see or do, and help you learn more about Japan, help you decide maybe where you want to go, what you want to see if you do go to Japan.
Mm-hmm. And also provide some historical context, because if you do go to Japan, you're going to see a whole lot of stuff that is going to seem very foreign probably, and to really understand what's going on and what you're actually seeing, it's important to understand the history of that place and the history of Japan as a whole. So we're going to get into that too.
Yeah, Japan is a really interesting, advanced, modern culture, but everything has roots in the past.
Mm-hmm. And you know what I love about this stuff is every topic that we choose, even if it doesn't sound super interesting on the surface, once you really start to dig into it, like all this stuff has a story. You know, there's really a lot there that most people just don't hear about. So that's what we're trying to bring you in this podcast.
Yeah. The first few episodes are going to be geared a little bit more towards how you're going to plan your trip to Japan if you're planning to go, what you're going to experience when you first get there, things like that. And then we'll move on to places and sites and events and things like that.
Mm-hmm. And all sorts of stuff just about the culture in general.
Yeah.
So now that we know what the podcast is about, who are we? Who am I? Who are you? What's your deal, Paul? What do you know about Japan?
So my deal with Japan goes back to when I was in high school. My freshman year of high school, a man named Ichiro Suzuki came over from Japan and started playing baseball professionally in America. And he lit it up. He was the most exciting, fun player to watch, and he instantly became my favorite player. And because of that, I got into Japanese baseball. They've had a professional league dating back almost 100 years, I think. So I was really excited. I'm like, I got a whole new league of professional baseball to dig into the history, look at the stats, and just really enjoy it. So that's first how I got really into Japan. And I eventually got into anime and manga and things like that through some of my friends, and just reading about Japan online, learning more about it. I just found a lot of things fascinating. So in 2008, I went to Japan for the first time with one of my brothers, and it was an awesome experience, and I really enjoyed it. I went back again a few years ago with you, Jason.
Yeah, you did.
And that was another amazing experience.
Mm-hmm.
I can't get enough. I'm hoping to go again soon. So, Jason, what's your history with Japan?
Well, I'm not so interested in sports, but I think it was originally your enthusiasm for Japan that kind of started rubbing off on me. And I remember you were taking that language class too in high school, and you impressed me by translating some Japanese stuff. Just your whole enthusiasm for that kind of got me to look deeper into it and realize that Japan is a fascinating place. There's a lot of interesting stuff about the culture, and it's so different from the U.S., but still so modern. I mean, there's really no other place just like it in the world. So I guess since then, I've been researching the culture, learning more about that. I love to travel all over the place, but Japan is the one destination I've been to where I was immediately like, I need to go back. There's just so much more I need to see there. There's a lot of cool stuff.
You just can't stay away.
Yeah. So, yeah, I've been there, 3 times now. Going to be 4 times pretty soon in a couple months. And I just keep learning new, fascinating things. So through this podcast, I hope to learn even more. And I also studied the Japanese language kind of lazily for a few years. I had access to Rosetta Stone in Japanese for free. So just thought that would be fun to pursue since Japanese is supposed to be a really difficult language to learn. I thought it would be fun. So yeah, between the two of us, I think we have a pretty solid foundation of knowledge about Japan. And I think we're both really excited to research all this stuff in even more depth for this podcast and share it with our wonderful listeners.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited to have a reason to be researching about Japan every week, to learn more about the history and the culture, and to keep adding to my list of things to do next time I go to Japan.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also excited to be creating something with my buddy.
Yeah, me too. So a couple caveats. Like I said, we have a bit of experience with the Japanese language, but don't expect the pronunciation to be absolutely perfect. We're going to get as close as we possibly can.
We're going to try.
Yeah. And also, in the Western world, a lot of the Japanese media that you might have been exposed to or parts of the culture, are generally very positive. And there's a lot of positive stuff about Japan, of course. But like anywhere in the world, there are some not quite so positive parts about maybe the history or parts of the culture that maybe don't line up with modern American values. But we're not going to shy away from that. We want to give all the facts and just lay it out there and be as true to the reality of Japan as we possibly can. So, there might be some controversial stuff that we're talking about in some episodes, but, we're just going to try to lay it all out there.
Yeah. Every week, we're going to be exploring some new aspect of Japan, and I hope you join us for it.
Mm-hmm.
Should be a lot of fun.
For sure. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you up ahead at episode 1.